world where achievements and accolades motivate us to do more and be more, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there is more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old, push your way through, and claim the deeper life that's calling you.
That's where we excel.
We're your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslac.
And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Sit back and relax as we share the shortcuts we've uncovered to help you make shift happen. Welcome to the Soulful Leader Podcast. This is Maren Oslac. I'm here with Stephanie Allen. And Stephanie and I have been talking about something that one of my spiritual teachers had said to me, which was, if you're waiting for something, you're not present. And I mentioned this to Stephanie just recently, and we've been talking about it a lot and what that means in our lives and what it means in business. So for me, when I first started to think about it, where it came up for me with my teacher was, I talked about like being in traffic and sitting in traffic and waiting. And he said, if you're waiting, you're not present. And so the next time I was stuck in traffic, I tried my best to not be waiting, which is an interesting practice in and of itself. So Stephanie and I, when we were talking about this, it's like, oftentimes we go right to judgment when someone tells us something like that. We go, oh, well, I have to do that better. I have to do that differently. And presence is something that we practice. It does turn into a state that we can embody. And that's pretty far down the line, right?
I was going to even ask too, Maren, to our listeners, we might not even really know what being present means and why it's important.
I think that's a great place to start. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think of being present, when I used to think of being present, it's like, well, I'm here right here, but my mind is everywhere. And, if you've ever been talking to somebody and you're nodding your head going, yeah. And you're not even nearly hearing them because you're already either at the end of the conversation trying to imagine what you're going to say back to them, or you're thinking about something else that you have to do in your day, or something that, God, this person looks just like my grade 2 teacher or something, I mean, you have all these, you're in everywhere. I think of that movie, Everywhere All at Once, everywhere, right. Everything all at once. So why would I want to be present? Like, why would that be important?
And so you've told us what presence isn't. So it's not when I'm talking to you thinking about if I have spinach in my teeth, or thinking about what I have to make for dinner tonight, or thinking about the argument that I had with my coworker, or, the deadline.
I'm so great. I'm so great. Or I'm so awful. All these good things, right?
Right. Or what that person thinks of me. All of those are what presence isn't. So do you have, for you, when you think about what presence is, what comes up for you?
Well, for me, I think about in serving, like volunteering, is when I forget about myself. And what I mean by the self, I mean my compensatory, egotistical identity. This is who I am. I'm a woman. I'm this age. I do this kind of work. If I forget all about that, and I've used this mantra many times with clients of mine. I say, we're not our body, but we have our body. We're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, but we have thoughts and emotions. And we're not our past, but we have a past. Then who are we? If we're none of that, who are we? And who just had that thought? And we mentioned this before on one of the other podcasts. And it's the presence, like the observer, the person that, if you've ever had an accident in your life, and God, I hope you didn't, and I hope everything was okay. But if you've ever had an experience, almost like an out-of-body experience, and you go, oh my gosh, here is this accident. Everything's in really slow motion. And you feel like time is just completely different. and you can see what the car is going to do or what your body is going to do or what's going to happen next. I feel like that, and you're not really in your body. You're seeing like the big, humongous picture of everything that's happening.
It's like an awareness of all
That
of
is
everything,
right. And
everything all at
everything,
once,
exactly.
everywhere all at
And
once.
you might even be looking down at your body going, yeah, Steph, this is really going to hurt. Like, I remember this when I was doing gymnastics, and, I'd have like a wicked wipeout or something like that. It would just be, or snowboarding or whatever. And I would leave my body and I would watch myself tumble and go, yeah, that's really going to hurt. But it would be in slow motion. And so I had this almost like an epiphany of this timelessness, that I was everything. I wasn't just this person having the tumble. I mean, that's in something that's traumatic and dramatic. But I've also, first time I ever learned how to surf, I said, I think I caught my very first wave, first time ever trying, and I felt like I just burst into a billion particles of light. I was everywhere, everything all at once. I was the ocean, I was the surfboard, I was way up high, I was seeing the surfers, I was feeling, I was hearing, but I wasn't any of it at the same time. To me, that's presence. It's like seeing and not identifying myself as male or female or right or wrong, good or bad, incorrect or correct. There was none of that. I was everything and nothing.
Yeah.
To me, that's presence. And I mean, I'd love to hear from, those who are listening, what you might have experienced as presence. But why that's important is that when we identify ourselves, I am a woman at this age and I haven't had children or I haven't been married, then we shame ourselves. And then we're waiting to be happy for something externally to show up for us, whether that is, money in our bank account or a love proposal from someone or, a financial goal that's been met. And then we realize when we reach those things that we're still not happy because we're identifying ourselves in this limited package of who we think we are, instead of being present to the infinite possibility of who we
Could be.
could be.
Who
Yeah,
we're being invited to be.
exactly.
I loved those examples. And for me, presence also includes those moments in my life where I've seen something so beautiful that has taken my breath away. And I stop and I'm completely in that moment. And that's what I hear you talking about, of like being in the tumbling or being in the accident, because everything else, it's almost like everything stops and you're in that moment. And now when you're in that moment and everything is in slow motion, because it technically doesn't stop, there is more choice. And I think that that's one of the important things about presence. The other piece of it that, as you were talking, that was coming up for me is the practice piece, because we're talking about things that happen to us, like when you're in an accident or when I see something quite beautiful. So those are, I think of those as gifts of moments in time that the universe says, here, this is what's possible. And so now part of my quest is how do I practice that on a regular basis so that it becomes who I am, so that I can step into that at will rather than waiting for it to happen to me.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the imagination part can come in, instead of trying to get more information about what it means to be present. What if you could imagine your ideals? What if you could imagine a life that you want to wake up into every morning, that you want to engage in? What would that imagination, like, if you could practice imagining and then being aware of who would you be when you showed up into that life? What behaviors, what choices, what thoughts would you be thinking? What emotions or what things would you say no to? Like, there's just such a different, but it's like a presencing of presencing the possibility that you could have one scenario. Like, if you ever decided you get up in the morning and you go, I'm just going to have a really great day today. And you put your feet on the ground. The next thing you know, you're late and everything's falling apart. Like it's hard. Like it's a hard practice to say, okay, I'm going to be present to it, because we try to hold on to it instead of doing the internal aspect of saying, well, what if I went to the end of my day and I was looking back at my day and said, wow, what a great day. Who was I being? And what was I thinking differently? And how did I let go of it? Like, how did I just let go and let everything move? If we could go to the end in mind and work backwards, it's going to be easier to let go. And I may be answering my own thing because I find that's the whole idea. I read something the other day of, if you're suffering, if you're even physically in pain or mentally or emotionally in pain, if you're suffering, what is it that you're believing that is causing you pain? If we go into the underworld in the ways of looking at the thoughts and the emotions or the belief systems, and we can mine that, then we can shift it. So for example, if I'm waiting for love to come so that I can be happy, I'm not present. I'm either in my past of what's happened in the past around love life, or in taking that past and throwing it into my future going, well, how could I ever trust love again? How could I ever keep my heart open and feel worthy? And then all of these, literally a plethora of voices in my head go, you're too old. You might as well just accept being alone. There's no one out there that you want. Your standards are too high, or no one could ever love you. You're not lovable. Like, honest to God, like these horrible, horrible things. And each one of those thoughts and beliefs will literally traject me into either a time in my past when that was true, or when I thought that was true, or I will throw that into my future and see emptiness or nothingness.
And how often do we do that with what other people say about us at work, or with, oh, I really want that job, but I'm not good enough for it, or all of
Exactly.
the itty bitty shitty committee that we've talked about.
Or I want to ask for this amount of money, or I want to ask,
Right.
whatever it is. And I don't deserve that. I mean, we may not, that's the whole thing. We may not consciously say that. Of course, we're not consciously saying that. Right. 95% of this is unconscious. But if you're not receiving, or you're not allowing something to be present in your life, it's because you're not present to the thought that's creating it. And that's an interesting aha moment, right? Like, what do you mean I'm not present to the thought that's created? Well, yeah. Like, have you looked inside to go, wait a minute, what am I believing right now?
So those thoughts
Mhm.
have their own life, and we've talked about this before, but the conscious mind can only process 60,000 bits per second, and the world comes at us at like in the trillions of bits per second. So
Mhm.
what ends up happening is there's this piece of our brain called the reticular activating system, and our you know our habits start to become subconscious, because our conscious mind can't think about, like, you don't have to beat your own heart, thank goodness, because if you had to think about that all day long, you couldn't think about anything else, right? So things become subconscious and become habits. So when you say that you're not the person who's thinking that thought, you're not. It's now a subconscious habit that's being regulated by the reticular activating system, which is like, okay, we don't need to think about that anymore. We got that
Yeah,
one down.
and it's ruling your life,
It's ruling
and
your
it's
life.
ruining your life most likely.
Well,
It's
it's
operating you.
it's operating you from a place that you were at maybe 10, 20, 15,
Right.
50 years ago,
That's right.
right? And it's telling you don't need to worry about that anymore. And now it might be time, most likely is time, for you to take that out and go, huh, kind of like cleaning out a junk drawer, right? And you're like,
Mhm.
huh, I haven't seen that for 5 years. I haven't seen that for 20 years. Do I need that anymore? Does that suit who I am now, A, or who I want to be?
And that's the key thing, who I want to be. What is it that's most important to me in my life that will get me out of bed in the morning? Aside from fear, like I don't want to have to
Mhm.
feel like I got to get out of bed in the morning because I got to pay my mortgage. that is a motivator for sure, but it's exhausting after a while, and it's fear-based. But what would be something that would inspire me and uplift me? And that's going to require for me to go in and do some house cleaning inside. I'm going to have to clean out and be present and not believe the thoughts that I'm thinking. It's like, the moment I say, oh, wow, look at me go, right? That would be the observer paying attention. And so if we can take off the judgment, if we can take off the shame of it, and then to allow ourselves to be curious, and we've mentioned this many, many times, and I'm relating this to, a lot of my clients are in the throes of retirement, and they're young. We're living, I think the average age span now has gone up to like 85 or 87 now. Like just literally a few decades ago, it was 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And it seems like it's increasing. So what are we going to do with our wonderful, precious life? If you're retiring at say it's 55 or even 60, early retirement, you have a lot of life still left in you. And the question, we've mentioned this many times, to be able to ask the question and to not fill in the answer so quickly, but to ask the question, like, what wants to happen? And we'll hear the thoughts go through and say, oh, well, it's too late. You're too old. How are you going to ever make money? Oh my gosh, you've got debt. You're not going to be able to survive. What happens if you get sick? And these are all freaking little liar, pants on fires kind of like thoughts. Somebody asked me today, well, what are the thoughts? I said, when we have the internet and we've got our smartphones in front of us, we have infinite information right there in the palm of our hand, literally. And if you go in and you say, okay, Google, I want to know, why is water good for me? You're going to get, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of articles of why water is good for you. And you can also go in and say, why is water bad for me? And you're going to get the exact same. So what's going to happen? Now you get information overload. What a pain in the butt. It's like, how do I sift through this? So taking it from another level of saying, to be present, just being, and awareness that there is an awareness that will outlive your body, that will outlive your mind, that will outlive your emotions. That's transcendence. So when someone passes away, the memories still live in those that love them. You live forever. We really do. So if we can go from that place, it's like, well, what is it? The greatest uplift, potential, love, longing that I want to live into in my life. Then we can utilize the information from a completely different place. You're not going to be overwhelmed. You're actually going to be guided. And we need to be present because, like you said, the reticular activating system, if we're hardwired in there with a whole bunch of unconscious programs that believe that we're not good enough, or that things won't turn out, or we can never make that happen, or the doubting, the negative Nellies, and the doubting Deborahs, or whatever, is that it just squashes it down. If we can open up space of just being with it.
So I want to take it back to a presencing exercise.
Yeah.
When I think of presence, I don't think of going to the future or to the past. So one of the things that I've been playing with, as I mentioned at the beginning, is like, if I'm standing in line, normally I would, we've talked about this, about like language is so important. So I've started to eliminate the word like I'm waiting in my language, and I'm standing in line is different from I'm waiting. So I'm standing in line, and then I literally drop in and I start to become present of the people around me, the colors, the scents, the smells. I might go inside and feel what it feels like to stand there, not to wait. So I start to bring my attention back from all the thoughts that are running through my head. And it's essentially a meditation. So I am now doing standing meditations and sitting meditations and presencing practices. And it can start with, so there's two levels of this: awareness practice. So I am aware of my body as I'm sitting here. I'm not waiting for the podcast to be over. I'm not thinking about what should be happening. And every time a thought happens, I come back into my body, like while Stephanie is talking and I'm sitting, instead of thinking about what I want to say next, I'm presencing, sitting and being present to what she's saying, right? Those are the types of practices that I've started to incorporate into my day so that when I get to the point where I'm in a pressured situation, I have that tool in my toolbox where I can still be calm, be open. And one of the things that you mentioned as you were talking is the creativity and possibility. And those two things need space. When there's lots of stuff, think about lots of stuff all over your desk, right? When there's lots of stuff all over my desk, I don't feel very creative. I feel like, oh, I need to do something. I feel stressed and overwhelmed and like, oh, right? And there's no possibility there. My possibility is stuck in the mess on my desk. That's what happens in our brains too. So even sometimes if I'm just going already like, okay, I can change my thoughts from taking the past and putting it in front of me to going to the future. They're still thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there is this place, this space, a no man's land, where everything exists and nothing exists, and it's a hard thing to describe. It's something to play with, to really start to experience, and that's where the space is, and that's where the creativity is, and that's where, when you were just talking, you said that there's a future that's waiting for us, that's calling us.
Mm-hmm.
And as we get older and we've retired and we still have time left on this planet, what do we do with ourselves? There is something
Mm-hmm.
that is calling each of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can step into that presence, that space, that's the place we can hear it.
And receive it. Otherwise we miss it. So this is what I was gonna say, the reticular activating. If we're busy thinking, feeling, figuring, we're going to not have the space for what wants to show up or what wants to happen. In fact, it will show up and it will happen and it'll be right here in front of you and you won't see it. This is why we say love is blind, because we're waiting for love. You could say, wealth is blind or being of service is blind, all those things, because we're waiting for something, waiting to get the grant, waiting to get the check, or waiting to get the phone call, or waiting to get the offer, instead of being present to what wants to happen. And it is a practice, because the minute you're present, it goes away again, because you're going to go uplifted to the next level. And now you're going to have to practice again. And if we can, instead of feel like a burden, if we get to turn it into a blessing, that we get to do this, we get to keep practicing. It's like grade 2 math is not the same as grade 12. Doesn't mean you failed. When you get to grade 12, it's going to be harder, but that doesn't mean that you failed. It's just that you're getting more and more possible of what's possible.
What I find with presence is as I practice it, I feel the space, I feel the possibility. So it's something that I want more of. It's it's a positive pulling towards instead of moving away, instead of the fear of, oh, I'm going to miss out on something.
Right.
Which when you're not present, like you said, the thing that you're waiting for could literally be right in front of you and you wouldn't see it.
That's right.
And so being present, it opens this space, and I feel like I get lighter and broader and like just more spacious, and I have more options and opportunities. And that goes back to like what's the purpose, why bother practicing presence, because that's where all of your gifts will come, is in presence, and it feels really awesome.
Well, and we're in a prison of our mind and our emotions and our bodies if we're not fully present. Like healing healing happens on the right side of the brain. What does that mean? It means it happens in the unknown. It means it happens in the creativity. It happens in the darkness. It happens with being still and listening. And that is the road less traveled. And this is
It's such,
presence.
yeah, it's such a different paradigm from what we're used to. So it really is, for those of us listening, it's like, what? What does that mean? Healing happens when I go to my doctor. It doesn't. Oftentimes, what happens when we go to our doctor is they mask it. They're not really healing it. And so the healing happens on the right side of the brain. I think that's another whole thing that we could spend another podcast and unpack.
Oh, totally. Being cured and being healed are two totally different things. You might have curable symptoms. Absolutely. But healing happens on not just the physical level. We're talking mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. There's an elevation that gets lifted. And that, in order to do that, I see this all the time. So great idea, great metaphor, Maren, because people can have an illness and go and have, I call it the burn, cut, or poison method. And there's nothing wrong with it. Please hear me. There's a time and place for those things. And God, I am so grateful for our Western medicine. It's incredible. So there's a time that we need, to have a surgery or to have medication or, radiation or whatever it have you. And I've seen people go and have those very things, and then years later have another bout of illness again, only coming back in a different way. And I say sometimes it's really, if we can go into that presence of what wants to happen, the healing happens transformal, not just the body, but the mind and the emotions. And that is your absolute inner resiliency. Presence is your inner resiliency and your outer resiliency, because you will literally be lifted up and transformed out of a place. Like, you'll see possibilities, you'll have more energy. Like, there's so many juicy things about being present. And it's the road less traveled.
It is. And it's the magical road, because all of a sudden you'll see something, you're like, how did I never see that? Has that been here all the time? Yeah, it's been there the whole time.
That's right.
You didn't see it because you weren't present, because you're so busy. And I say you, I'm talking about me. I was so busy trying to wait. I was busy waiting. Isn't that a conundrum? I was busy waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm waiting and I'm in that place, it does take up all the bandwidth. So it really, truly does. It's a busy thing that we do, this waiting. Isn't that weird?
It's a practice of stillness
Yeah.
and listening, surrendering, allowing, receiving, trusting.
Yeah. And I find for me that I love that. I mean, here's the deal. What else are you doing while you're waiting? You're taking up bandwidth. So why not take a moment and be like, what would it be like to be present in this moment? What would I notice if I were just present?
And, I just heard of something like, when you just said, I'm busy waiting, right? Like, what else am I, we tend to think as a society, we want to be more efficient. And I'm irritated because I'm waiting in line or I'm waiting on hold. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to, I'm waiting on hold on the phone. So I'm going to get on my internet and I'm going to pay my bills and I'm going to do some other things while I'm here. But then I'm not present to what's happening. And so, so I might say, well, Steph, you were on the phone for an hour with your insurance agent and you were on hold, just sitting there waiting. Isn't that a waste of time? And if I believe that, now I'm irritated. Now I'm annoyed. Chances are that insurance agent's going to come on. I'm going to probably blast him, which I have. So I've done that. And I realize I'm not present because I'm saying, how dare you misuse my time? But really, I'm misusing my time, because that's a time where I could literally just close my eyes, relax my body, breathe. And I would say, who's breathing? If you're present to your breath, you're not, yes, you get to play along with the game that you're breathing, but essentially you don't even think about your heart beating and your breath breathing. So there is a presence that's actually giving you life. What if you tuned into it? What if you were just present to that? How you're breathing, how my body's feeling, being attentive to noticing the thoughts without believing them and just going, interesting thought. or slowing things down, thinking of literally no thing.
Yeah.
That is way more effective for productivity, because now, after an hour's passed, say, I have been doing a presencing practice. The insurance agent comes on. My heart is empty. I am so at peace. My body's relaxed. I don't have any fight or flight energy in me because I have discharged it. Chances are, and I did this, the reason I'm laughing is I actually did this today. For 2.5 years, people, 2.5 years, I have been on hold with a bank about my credit card that has been changed. It's been crazy. And I have literally been nuts because I get on and I already have these stories that I'm going to tell myself like, oh yeah, how long is it going to take this time? And it's just been crazy. And today I practiced that. Today I said, you know what if I did no thing and I just enjoyed this time of being still and breathe and was just literally focusing on being present.
And how
And
is it different?
do you know, she got on and I told her, I said, I just have to vent. I know you can't do anything. I'm not asking you. I just need you to hear me for a minute. But this is what's happened for 2.5 years. I told her and she laughed. She goes, I'm so sorry. You're right. I can't do anything. I said, I know, but you listened. So thank you. And we chuckled. And I said, I have to let you know. I said, I only have so much time and then I have to go. She goes, we'll make it happen. This is 2.5 years of me fighting with this. It took her literally 29 minutes and we got it done. And we did it with love and humor. We talked about the most love. I had such a wonderful connection with this woman. She talked about what happened to her in the pandemic and how it grew her family closer together and the things that she learned. I'm like, holy intimacy with a stranger.
Right.
And I was not, I was able to discharge the stress. I was not worked up. I was at peace and I got the job done.
And then you didn't have
That's
all the residue, right? You
That's
didn't have all the
productivity.
residue for the rest of the day, which then depletes the productivity for the rest of the day. And then you take it out on your husband or your wife or your kids or your dog when you get home and like all of the stuff. It
Exactly.
like on
And I'm
a
seeing
moment.
exactly. And I'm seeing this because it didn't just happen. This is the 2.5 years of me practicing being present. And I think, really this phone call was probably like a post test for me. It's like, how many times have I been disconnected? Have I been given the runaround like crazy? But I was practicing all the way along, doing a morning practice where I was just focusing and breathing and focusing on presencing me sitting there, like just pretending. And it is a pretending. It's like, what if I was just entering the room and I was seeing myself sitting in that chair? I'm like, oh yeah, there she is. Oh, relax your shoulders. Oh, this is good. Just, nothing to do, nowhere to go, nothing to figure out. Yeah. And it is a practice.
It is.
And it is worth it.
And the good news is that you can start today because I know for myself anyway, the more I'm aware of how all the places that I wait in my life, the more aware of all the places I wait I become. It's like it's amazing to me. I didn't realize how much of my life I spend, and I use that word very intentionally, waiting. And the reason I use the word spend is because when you spend something, it's gone. You don't get it back. So I am starting, as I said at the beginning of this, to shift into becoming aware of being present, investing my time in presence whenever I notice that I'm waiting. So now when you invest in something, there's a return on your investment. So being aware of my language around spending and investing, around waiting and presence, and then bringing that into this outer world that I get to be a part of. So,
and one last thing.
Yep.
You are worth, all of us, everyone listening, everyone is worth being present to. You're worth it. And if you're finding that things aren't, people or places or things aren't showing up for you or being present to you, it's an opportunity to go inside and be present to yourself, because it will change. The outer world will change. And you're so worth making time for and investing in.
I love that. Well, thanks all for listening to us, sharing your day with us today, a moment out of it. We are available on YouTube, and you can chat with us on our Soulful Leaders on Facebook and on LinkedIn. So if you'd love to chat with us, we'd love to hear from you. And we will see you all next week on the Soulful Leader podcast.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslac. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.